The subject that I want to speak about today is a subject that is mandated that I speak about. The reason why this particular subject is mandated is because when the truth begins to shine forth, it causes people to go through what I call cognitive dissonance. What that means is when your mind has been molded and shaped to think a certain way, and then all of a sudden, seemingly out of nowhere, here comes something that literally cancels out what you've been made to believe. It's only natural that the human mind says, what's wrong here? Something ain't right. You know, and in the last week and a half, I have had to answer more questions, not so much really from you who are here, but from people who are watching our television show, from people who are listening to our radio program, from y'all's friends, that y'all get the tapes and give the tapes to them, and then they hear that which something inside of them locks into the truth of it all, but it just doesn't fit with what I've been taught. I preached a message, almost 2 years ago now. And that message was entitled, I guess it was that long ago. The message was entitled, Breaking the Last Bond of Slavery. I don't know how many of you remember that message. Today I want to help us understand the last bond of slavery. And I hope that this tape, this message, will serve as a reference tool for those who are still in the process of coming out of what our oppressors gave us to believe. The subject for today, and I say this subject with not a lot of excitement, but I say this subject because this is where the rubber meets the road.
All right, sir.
The subject is this. Look at the person next to you and say, what shall we do with Jesus?
Yes, sir.
This is where the rubber meets the road. What shall we do with Jesus? Why is that question so important? Now, I'm going to have to really take my time and talk slow in this message, okay? Hope I don't bore you, but I don't want nothing to move past you too fast to where you don't grab it.
Yes, sir.
Why would this question be so important? Why? The reason why the question is important is because we have, as a people, been programmed into a belief system that's really not about Jesus at all. Follow what I'm saying now. You have been taught that the person in the belief system is a person named Jesus. But the belief system that we have been taught is really a philosophical way of saying that you can be that which you know you shouldn't be and still be all right with God. Follow what I'm saying now. In other words, we have been taught that a man named Jesus bled on Calvary. And why did he bleed on Calvary? To pay the price. Talk back to me. Y'all ain't forgot that quick. To pay the price for our sin. Right? That's what we've been taught. That's what we've been taught. We've also been taught that the whole reason why he came to earth in the first place was to correct what Adam did in the Garden of Eden. Isn't that true? That's true. The problem is, Adam didn't exist. So now if Adam didn't exist to create what we call the fall of man, but here's the thing. The whole Western world are taught in most schools and churches that Jesus Christ was a historical figure. The most enduring and profound controversy on this subject is whether or not a man named Jesus Christ ever really existed. Now I told y'all I'm going to have to talk slow. Now, when you examine this issue closely, you will find that there's tremendous amount of volumes of literature that demonstrates logically and intelligently, time and time again, that Jesus Christ is in fact a mythological character along the same lines as Greek, Roman, Egyptian, Sumerian, Phoenician, Indian, or any other god-men who are accepted by these various cultures. Am I going too fast? If you look deeper, you will uncover evidence that the Jesus character is based upon much older myths and heroes from all over the world. So, you understand that this story, therefore, is a historical representation of a Jewish rebel carpenter. In other words, brothers and sisters, it has been demonstrated continually for centuries that this character, Jesus Christ, was invented and did not depict a real person who was the, quote, everybody say, Son of God.
Son of God. Take your time.
In preparing this message, knowing that we're at that point now in the resurrection of African people, that there's some things that you're going to have to come to grips with if you expect to move any further. You understand what I'm saying? As painful as it might be, if you intend to move further, some realities you're going to have to come to grips with. If you want to move further, if you don't want to move further, cool, fine, no problem. But if you're going to move further, you're going to have to answer some real serious questions. Let's establish something, brothers and sisters. The only literary evidence, follow me well now, the only literary evidence to the existence of Jesus is what we call the Gospels. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. All of the supporting evidence to the existence of Jesus is wrapped up in these four Gospels. Well, I shouldn't say wrapped up in those four. There are others. There's what you call the Gospel of Jesus. There's what you call the Gospel of Thomas, the Gospel of Nicodemus, all these other Gospels, but the ones that we know of are in what we call the Bible, the four Gospels. Dozens of Gospels that were once considered genuine or canonical were later rejected as apocryphal or spurious, meaning not genuine or real, or vice versa. The Christian plagiarist, what did I just say? In other words, these people who decided to copy something from an earlier account and put a different name on it, over the centuries, they attempted to amalgamate and fuse practically every myth, every fairy tale, every legend, every doctrine or bit of wisdom that they could to create what we call the Jesus character. Now, I know what I'm saying is rubbing some of you like coarse sandpaper. Some of you might very well want to get up and leave. You have that right. But I guarantee you, if you do, you won't learn. Choice is yours. Notice what I'm getting ready to tell you now. And I'm trying to do this in the space of 1 hour. The legend of Jesus, notice how I said that, the legend of Jesus identically, what did I say? Identically parallels, that's the word they would have me use. Actually, it is an exact copy of the story of Osiris, Horus, first, second, Krishna, Buddha, and about 24 other saviors. But I'll just talk about the 3 that I just named. Let's check this out for a moment. Now, I'm talking about stories that predate the Christian story by thousands of years. You listen and take it to your own mental court of law, and y'all tell me what you come up with. No, don't tell me nothing. You tell yourself what you come up with. Let's go to the first one. Everybody say Horus. Horus. H-O-R-U-S. You may want to write it down. Horus, or the original name was Heru, H-E-R-U. His father's name was Osiris. The stories of Jesus and Horus are identical. Let me tell you something about Horus. Who did I say I'm talking about now? Horus. Horus was born of a virgin.
Yes, sir.
Her name was Aset or Isis. Horus was born on December 25th in a cave or manger, which we stood in while we were in Kemet, by the way. When Horus was born, his birth was announced by a star in the east.
Yes, sir.
And 3 wise men
Yes, sir.
came to his birth. Second parallel. When Horus was a child, at 12 years old,
Yes, sir.
he was a teacher in the temples in Kemet.
Yes, sir.
When Horus was 30 years old, he was baptized by the Egyptian priest Anup, A-N-U-P, who of course becomes John the Baptist in the Bible. Horus, Heru, had 12 disciples.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Horus, I'm talking about 6,000 years BC. How long ago did I say? 6,000 years BC. Horus performed miracles and raised a man from the dead. And the man who he raised from the dead, y'all guess what his name was? Let me tell you. Lazarus. Lazarus, who became Lazarus in the Bible. Horus walked on water. Horus, 6,000 years BC, was transfigured on a mountain in front of his disciples. Horus was crucified. Osiris Horus was crucified and buried in a tomb and resurrected 3 days later.
All right.
Osiris Horus was known as the way, the truth, and the life. He was called the Messiah. Osiris Horus was called God's anointed son. He was called the Son of Man. He was called the Good Shepherd. He was also called the Lamb of God. Osiris Horus also had the title of the Fisher.
Yes.
Horus's personal epithet was Iusa, I-U-S-A, or which translates means to be the ever-becoming son of Ptah, the father. Horus was called Christ, K-R-S-T,
Yes, sir.
which means in Kemet, the anointed one. Now, did anything I say sound familiar? been taught about all that, haven't we?
Ashe.
But it wasn't about Horus, was it? Well, let me go to the next one. This guy's name is called Krishna. Krishna dates back to 5000 BC, which means he was after Horus. Krishna was born of a virgin. Her name was Devaki. Krishna's father was a carpenter. Krishna's birth was attended by angels, wise men and shepherds, and they brought gold, frankincense, and myrrh to Krishna's birthday party. Krishna was persecuted by a tyrant who ordered the slaughter of thousands of infants. Krishna was baptized at the age of 30 in the river Ganges. Krishna was transfigured on a mountain in front of his disciples, which also totaled 12. Krishna was crucified on a tree between two thieves. Krishna rose from the dead 3 days later and ascended to heaven. Krishna is also called the shepherd God, Lord of hosts. He was considered the Redeemer. He was called the firstborn. He was called the sin bearer, the liberator. He was also called the universal word. Check this out. Just like Horus, Krishna is the second person of the Hindu Trinity. Krishna proclaimed himself as the resurrection and the way to the Father. Krishna was called the beginning, the middle, and the end, or what we call Alpha Omega. His disciples labeled him Jesus, spelled Jezeus. Sound familiar? Yes. What's really deep is Krishna, the Hindus will tell you today, they're waiting for his second coming, because he is supposed to return back to earth to do battle with the prince of evil in the final judgment day. Can I drop some more information on y'all? Y'all mighty quiet up here. Everybody say this. The Son of God, S-O-N, is the Son of God, S-U-N.
All right.
Now I'm going to make it plain to you this morning, because we're at the point where the rubber meets the road. And see, this way, when people start asking me these questions and I got to keep sending all these emails and explaining all this, I can say, here, take this tape. And just listen to the tape for yourself. And then go do your own research to verify what I'm telling you.
That's right.
And you can take the tape also and listen to it 100 times if you want to. However many times you have to listen to it to learn. The reason, brothers and sisters, now follow this well, because what I'm getting ready to say now is deep. Okay? See, we haven't been taught to think on a deep level.
All right.
In fact, y'all, guess what? We haven't been taught to think, period. We've been told to listen. We haven't been taught to think. Now, what I'm getting ready to tell y'all now is deep. So I'm going to take my time, but you'll understand it. I'm going to make it plain to you. The reason why all these narratives are so similar, with a God-man who was crucified, resurrected, virgin-born, is because we need to understand that these stories were based on the movements of the sun in the sky. We need to understand that.
Yes, sir.
Everybody say astrotheology. See, we have taken what was astrotheology and made it literal theology. We've made it historical theology. So we've taken that which did not literally exist or historically exist and incorporated it into our belief system as though it is fact. You understand what I'm saying? And that's why we can't agree with each other. Follow this well now. You have the sun. How many signs of the zodiac are there? Oh, ain't that deep? You have the S-O-N. How many disciples did he have? Oh, ain't that deep? Check this out now. Check this out.
Yes, sir.
Most of the world's crucified God men have their traditional birthday on what day? December 25th. This is because the ancient Africans, follow me people, the ancient Africans in Kemet recognized that from an earth-centric perspective, the sun makes its annual descent southward until December 22nd. On December 22nd is the beginning of what is called the winter solstice. On December 22nd, guess what the sun does, brothers and sisters? It stops moving. In other words, it dies. And it starts its journey back northward, which takes 3 days for it to rise again. It was during this time that the ancient Africans declared that God's Son, God's S-U-N, had died for 3 days and became born again or rose again on December 25th. The ancient Africans understood that they can't live without the sun. White man has made it the S-O-N and brainwashed us into thinking we can't live without the S-O-N that they fabricated when the ancient Africans were saying you can't live without the S-U-N. And I dare you to just try to have 15 minutes without the heat from the sun. And this whole planet will turn into one giant ice cube. Because the sun, S-U-N, giveth life. You see, brothers and sisters, we also need to understand that the calendar, the ancient African calendar, not the Gregorian calendar of the white man now. Because see, according to them, come on, y'all. This is the year what? 2000? Now, any fool know we've been here longer than 2,000 years. Who are they to determine? The original African calendar began in the constellation of Virgo. Y'all hearing me? Yes. So therefore you can understand why it says the Son of God, the S-U-N, was born of a virgin. Because the first calendar began in the constellation of Virgo. I mean, let's, as we say, keep it real. Yes, what is the light of the world, people? The S-U-N. I mean, look out the window. Amber and you, we ain't do that. There's no light bulb big enough to be the light of the world. But they taught us the S-O-N is the light of the world. Y'all have heard the phrase, the sun cometh on the clouds, and every eye shall see him. Well, it happens every morning. When the sun rises, you see it coming in the cloud, and all you got to do is look up unless you're blind. And they took that and made it a part of the doctrine of eschatology. The rising of the sun is the savior of mankind. As far as the sun walking on the water, real simple, people. Go to the shore of the sea and watch the sun as it comes up over the horizon. And you'll see the sun walking on the water. It's real simple. Don't get deep with it. The ancient Africans understood that the Son of God is the Most High. Real simple. Because at high noon, good God Almighty, there's nothing higher than the S-U-N. And hence they came up with the title of calling Ra the Most High God. And that's why at high noon or at 12 o'clock or at the age of 12, he begins his Father's work, which they stole and put in the Bible, where he told his mama at 12 years old, I must be about my Father's business. The sun enters into each sign of the zodiac at the angle of 30 degrees. Hence you have Jesus entering his ministry at the age of 30 years old. The ancient Africans weren't stupid. No. It's the white man who was stupid and came and tried to copy it and got it all wrong. Now what's deep here is the European with his invader mentality conquered our motherland, stole the truth and the esoteric meaning of what I just explained to y'all. But like I said, they ain't got it all up here yet to grasp it that well, so it became a literal presentation, and our slave masters taught us what they couldn't grasp. And you can't make sense of it, so you just have to believe it. You look at the person next to you and say, anybody who believes what they don't understand is on their way to becoming a fool. Now, brothers and sisters, don't misquote me. Faith is important. But I'm talking about having faith in God, not in some doctrine that our oppressor fabricated and handed to us. Now, having understood all that I just shared with you, and like I said, brothers and sisters, you don't have to take my word for it. Get this tape. Listen to it if you got the integrity to do so. And go verify what I said for yourself. But having said all that, we're stuck with the question, what shall we do with Jesus? Look at the person next to you and say, I can't do anything with someone who never existed. However, now hear me good, y'all. Hear me very, very good, because what I'm getting ready to go to is very important now. What we must understand as African people is that what we did is we took what our oppressor gave us and we incorporated into it our African spirituality. Did I lose you? So really and honestly speaking, most black folk can't even tell you about Jesus. They can't. Most black folk cannot tell you about the pre-existence of Christ. Most black folk can't tell you about the vicarious work of Christ. Most black folk can't tell you about the omniscience and the immutability and all of these character traits about Christ. They can't tell you that. All they know is, I love Jesus. That's all they know. And their thing is, don't take my Jesus. From whatever you do, don't mess with my Jesus. What the thing is they don't realize is what they're calling Jesus is not really the fabrication that was handed to us by our oppressor. It's really how they feel about God. They've just been calling it what the oppressor told them to call it. You understand what I'm saying? With a brother a couple of weeks ago. He said to me, we ought to stop saying Jesus altogether because it came from the white man. And I said to him, well, brother, you need to start speaking English altogether because that came from the white man too. In other words, people, we have become so anti-European that many of us are throwing the baby out with the bathwater. You following what I'm saying? And answering the question, what shall we do with Jesus? The answer is real simple. As I told you, if you think you're going in one direction and the lights come on and your eyes become open and you see that you're not going in the direction you thought you were going in, nobody shouldn't have to tell you what to do. The answer is inevitable, but now it's not really inevitable if you don't know where you want to go. If you don't know what direction you want to go in, you might as well keep going the way you're going. Because without a sense of direction, no matter which way you turn, you're still going to be lost. Am I making sense here? Many of us, and I want to address this morning, especially right here in the African Village Center, because God sent me to this place. There's no doubt in my mind about that. God sent me to this city to bring our people together and to raise us up from the mess we're in. And the first way that has to happen is we have to break the ground of the lies that have been put in place. That's step number one. Some people feel as though they can't even say the word Jesus. Now I'll tell you the truth. For a person who is young and learning and apt to information, I expect you to grasp the truth and apply it with far less difficulty than I expect our elders to grasp the truth and apply it. Let me tell you why. Because when you have been into something for 40, 50, 60, some of you even 70 years, you don't just stop that overnight. You don't, man. And if you did stop it overnight, I'd wonder how strong-minded you really are. Think about what I'm saying. However, regardless of how strong-minded you are, once you see for yourself the truth ought to dictate to you your course of action. I remember I was listening to a tape by Steve Coakley, and he was asking somebody if they had read the book that he had loaned them. And then he said, never mind, you don't have to answer. I can tell by your actions you haven't read the book. Because right knowledge will be manifested in your actions. Did I lose you? Right knowledge will be manifested in your actions. You follow what I'm saying? I look at our elders, and I've been burdened for our elders who are made to feel like they don't have it because they're not grasping this African consciousness as quickly as many younger people are. And I'm burdened for them because I don't want our elders to feel like they are wrong. Now hear what I'm saying, y'all. I don't want our elders, the very people whose prayers got us to where we are, the people who, to the best of their ability, lived the way they believed like they're wrong, all because there's this awareness now coming up front that they don't know. Because the truth of the matter is they know it. You see what I'm saying? They just may not know the right terms. They may not know the right words. But it has always been the African spirituality in our elders that has held us together as a people. A lot of us young folk have lost our compassion because you got a degree from the white man. You took a black studies course in school, so therefore you feel as though our elders who still say, oh Jesus, you feel like they don't know what they're talking about. Doggone it, if it wasn't for their strength and fortitude, you wouldn't went to school. I don't want you, my people. When you hear our African elders call out from their heart and they express it the only way they've been taught to express it, I don't want you looking down on them. I mean that. One of our elders say, help me, Jesus. I don't want you to look down on them and say, when they gonna learn? When you gonna learn? When are you gonna learn that they're not really calling on a white man? They're just using English. That's all they're doing. We will allow the same philosophy of our oppressor to divide the African village all over a world. Look at the person next to you and say, I must learn to see your heart and what you mean. That's what's important, brothers and sisters. That's what's important. When I listen to my elders, oh, it's amazing how some of us are so African conscious. We got the unmitigated audacity to stand up and say, may I have permission from my elders to speak? And then when they give you permission to speak, you turn around and disrespect them because they're trying to hold on to that which they know. Now, again, back to the question, what shall we do with Jesus? African elders, you hold on to what you know. Don't worry about the word. It's the concept that's in your heart. If you know God is a way maker and you call him Jesus and he's making a way for you, then you enjoy that way that's being made for you. Do y'all hear me? I don't care what you call it. God sees the heart. Doggone it, we better start learning how to see the heart. Okay, I'm trying to get there. I hope my point is getting clear here, y'all. Because see, I'm working too hard. That's right. I'm working too hard here, trying to bring us together as a people. Yes. To let this off-the-wall white man's mentality divide us because what's coming out your mouth is not accurate according to your limited awareness. I'd rather you call on Jesus and love me than to call on Amen and talk about me like a dog. I'd rather you call on Jesus if that's what you got to say I'd rather you call on Jesus and lift your brother and sister up. Good God Almighty, and show them that you care about them, than to walk around here in dreads and beads and a dashiki and you too high up in the air to put your arms around somebody and show them you care about them. That's not the African way, y'all. The African way is no matter what you call God, as long as you love me, as long as we're one in the spirit, we can get something done. That's the African way. Every tribe had a different name for God. Every tribe had a different name for God, but when they got on that slave ship, no matter what they called God, they came together as a people and were strength to each other. I hope this is making sense to y'all. Woo, Lord have mercy. It's time for us to come together. I will not let the devil divide what I'm trying to build here in the name of your intellectualism. I'd rather you be stupid and kind than smart and mean. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, buddy. I hope this is making sense. So what? So Pastor Hayden, why do you use the word almond? Because I've learned that our ancient Africans addressed God as that. We didn't start saying Jesus till the white man came along. But most of us in here, all we know is what the white man taught us. And you can only operate in that which you know, even if you mean something else. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
That's right, brother.
So, African Village Center, New Ephesus. We're getting ready to go into 2001 already. I've watched different faiths come in here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
I've watched Hebrew Israelites come in here.
Yes,
I've watched Muslims come in here. I've watched those who say they stopped believing in God years ago come in here to learn. See what God is doing with us African people. God is using us to tear down the walls that our oppressor set up to divide us. I pray every day that God gives me air to breathe. That the pastors in this city would understand what I'm trying to tell you right now. If our religious leaders ever understand that it's not about our doctrine, but it's about the power that we have as a people and God in us, if they ever understand that, there will be no stopping us as a people, and people has got to start somewhere. So it starts right here.
With you, brother. Yeah, man. All right. You're all right. All right.
So let's love one another.
Yes.
I tell you, as a pastor, I hurt today because we've had elders of this church leave because they were made to feel uncomfortable, because they felt like they didn't fit in anymore. In the process of developing an African consciousness and the influx of those who have an African consciousness, we failed to hold on to our elders. And when we as Africans fail to hold on to our elders, we ain't Africans. We're just young black folk trying to make an impression. Our elders, my mama, 83 years old. I love her with all my heart. And she loves Jesus, or what she perceives to be Jesus. If it wasn't for that lady and her Jesus, I wouldn't be standing here right now. You hear what I'm saying? I'm not going to let nobody dog my mama, and no other mama in our village because they're not as smart as you. Can't do that, folk. Because whereas we taking water in, how do you say it? Instead of dumping the water out of the boat, we just going through the motion because we're not really sealing the problem. We're not plugging the hole of division. So don't let yourself, and I close, don't let yourself be used of the devil. If someone says, Lord, I thank, in fact, the other day we went to see Sister Doretta Young. And when we walked into the hospital, she said, "Oh, Jesus, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus." All of the teaching that I've done, that's what she said. But you know what? I knew what she meant. She wasn't calling on no white man. That was her way of saying, God, I thank you. You understand what I'm saying? And we just hugged, and she kept talking to me. Oh, Jesus done blessed me today. Jesus done blessed me today. And I said, that's right, he sure has. Because that's where my mother is. That's where our elder is. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So, brothers and sisters, I plead with you. I beg you. Let us respect each other. Please. Because if we don't do that, we just wasting time. I don't care how good the voices of mouth sing. I don't care how African we look. When we fail to honor one another, we're just as devilish as our oppressor.